Hey, welcome back to another video by Jermetheus Games, or welcome to a video by Jermetheus Games, depending on where you're at. Whether this is your first or a continuation in the series, I don't know. But this is my tutorial on the engineering station as it is on the Aegis. I guess I should have said that in my other videos on Helm and Tactical, but I didn't. But now you know what order I recorded these in. Every time I make one of these videos, I seem to think of something else to say, but point out or to add or whatever. Moving on. Engineering. Love engineering. So just in case this is the first video you're watching, let me just quickly point out, I usually play this game on the Oculus Rift VR headset, but as I was trying to record it, my little head nods were causing a lot of jitteriness, and you couldn't always see what I was seeing through the visor, so parts of things would get cut off, and I would be talking about something you couldn't even see it. So, I decided to use the desktop version of the game in order to do this recording, and I consider it. So anyway, welcome to the engineering / ops. Well, okay, fine, we're on the Aegis. It's the engineering console training video. Now, this is not the training video in the sense that I'm going to tell you how to do ops. I'm assuming by now you have seen the tutorials, whether by playing the game or just, fanning out and watching a bunch of YouTube videos. And so you know about rerouting power and all this stuff. So this is more about the stuff that I have seen and experienced that I think every person doing engineering should automatically know and do. So, without further ado, engineering tutorial level 2 or advanced engineering training, lots of stuff there. Okay, anyway, oops, I see something I already messed up on, but I'll leave it alone. Okay, so I'm recording these tutorials back to back. I did Helm and I've done Tactical, and I left the shields on Tactical. So, yeah, but that's all right because maybe I can use that to my advantage here in a minute. All right. Anyway, so coming into the engineering station, the first thing I'm going to tell you: take over transporter control. Boom, got it. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is for two parts. One, Helm doesn't need anything because they can fly the ship. If you've seen my Helm video, or, well, you know what? I'm not going to tell you. You can go watch my other video if you haven't seen it and you want to know why Helm doesn't need the transporter effect or to have to use the transporters. And yeah, so do that. Tactical's going to be busy with system intrusion, so you take over the screen. That's the first reason. The second reason is if you play on any of the other ships, ooh, this is almost jittery, but if you play on any of the other ships, transporter control is automatically given to engineering / ops. On TOS, engineering has it, and on the next generation, ops has it. So why not give it to engineering on the Aegis? Plus, you know what, it's pretty easy for you to maintain. Wow, this is really sensitive. Okay, so I thought it was sensitive on the other stations. Ooh. All right. So real quick, I recommend turning this on. And the reason I recommend turning this on is because it gives you a visual glance at damage control. So for instance, if you're over here, you're going to see the damage. But if you're on this screen, there's nothing here to tell you what systems are damaged. But looking at the color information here will let you know what systems are damaged and how badly they're damaged. So this is the basic nothing damaged look, but as systems get damaged, you'll see them turn to yellow and red for severe, and so you'll know, okay, well, like for instance, I don't need the warp engines for a little while, so I can let them take a little more damage while I stay on this screen and do this stuff or maybe do that stuff. In all honesty, don't let anything take too much damage for too long. I mean, it is your job, and you look better if you don't have a damaged, broken ship. So, don't want them to fire phasers and the phasers be offline, right? So, but this is a nice view to see how much damage you've taken from that last volley. Plus, if you've taken a few volleys and you're not showing any damage here, that means that you've got a good setup and you're probably okay. The enemy is much weaker than you, and you're not going to have to do too much in the area of repair. Now, because this will be quicker, I'm going to start with the repair. I don't have any damage, so it won't let me do this. But after you've taken over Transporter, one of the things that I recommend doing and turning on the system display is coming over to the repair and going ahead and selecting all three of these, okay? Because that selection will hold through window changes, which means that when damage does come up for the first time, you can jump over here and immediately put all three people into the areas. I like to use all three engineers in whatever system I'm trying to fix because the repair time is significantly shortened compared to putting one here, one here, one here, or even two in one or whatever. Basically, put all three of them, and when the repair gets up to about 95%, 98%, you can jump them, and the system will continue to repair before they leave because there's a small delay between when you tell them to go and when they go, and in that delay span, they can fix the last 2 to 3% so of the damage. So you could be like 97%, switch them over, and they'll finish that last three right before they go over. Or you can even do the move one or move two over here, let this person finish the last three, and then bring them over. But like I said, the jumping bit works really well for me, and just to move them around. Now, here's the deal. You can't put them into an area that doesn't need repairs. So unlike the TOS and the next generation ship, where you can put people into areas and have them just on standby, this one does not allow you to do that. But what it will let you do is leave people in areas. So, like for instance, priority most of the time for me is the phasers. So I will repair everything and then do the phasers last, and I will leave them in phaser. I will leave the people, instead of recalling them here, I'll leave them in phaser control. But I'll go ahead and select all three of them. That way they're ready to jump to whatever other system I want to go to. But I will leave them in phasers. That way phasers constantly get repaired. And after phasers, I kind of balance between shields and torpedoes. Um, but like I said, it kind of depends on the mission. If we're doing a scanning mission, I might stick them in scan. But my point is I don't necessarily return them back to here. I leave them here because they'll continue to fix any new damage that comes to the system. So why not, right? So that's pretty much all that. Environmental warnings are here. Pay attention to them. Help the captain and the rest of the crew out. If the tactical should be scanning anomalies. You'll get more information than they do. The captain has more information than you do. But save him or her the screen jumps, and you can actually say, hey, this anomaly will cause these kind of issues, or it'll cause no issues. And that helps everybody out, especially Helm, who might decide whether or not to fly through the anomaly. So that's pretty much all for this screen. Now, back to the screen. Let's look right here, this little area here. The detectability range. Convince everybody to keep this low. So basically, since the shields are on, I might say, hey, tactical, turn off those shields to get this down. 10 kilometers is your minimum. There are, unless you're inside of certain anomalies anyway, and this can get smaller, but 10 is pretty much the minimum that you can intentionally get that to. Now this thing can max out pretty high, basically anything over 4,000, and it's going so if I prepare for warp, yeah, that's going to have effect. The engines aren't actually engaged, so it's not showing. But if the engines were engaged and he went up above he or she, I said he because it's a he right now, but he or she is above 4,000 kilometers per hour, then yeah, it would show and it would increase your detectable range. Hull damage, hull and shield. You get this reading. Talk to the rest of the crew. Let them know what this is from time to time. Don't be annoying about it. But about every 10% is when I like to chime in. Unless, of course, we destroyed the enemy and we're no longer taking any major damage, then I'll just fix what I can. Of course, hull, let them know what this is because the hull's not fixable. You don't get any control on repairing this. Shield level, yeah, that's just for you. and that's based on what you click here. All right, so that's about the Jimmy of that one. Um, Impulse warp, whatever. Just make sure you always have power for that. All right, so the main area of this tutorial that I want to talk about is routing settings. Now, power routing can be a blessing or it can be a curse, depending on how you set this up. Remember this basic rule. However much you put in, you've got to move out. Okay? And really that refers to these pips here. So if I put 2 pips into a system, I need to move 2 pips out of the system somewhere. And I'm going to show you a couple of setups that I have found that are really good for providing engines and, well, basically everything, at least a little bit of a power boost. Most of it is to help enhance your weapons, but it has the default effect of helping your shields and, or not default, but the side effect of helping your shields and engines also. And this first one I got from Mike in a tutorial. That's all he calls himself is Mike. But he wrote an engineering guide that when I started playing and was looking for tips, I found his guide and I really like what he had to show. So I will put a link to his engineering guide in the details or the information section of this video. And yeah, I will put a link to that guide in there so you can see for yourself, because he also makes other suggestions for basically if you want to prioritize shields, engines, or phasers. Yeah, see, the desktop version doesn't let you. There's another guy over here, and these two people talk all the time. So from the engineering standpoint, get used to that. It's very chatty on this side of the room. All right, so anyway, let's talk about the setup. This is what I recommend. This is Mike's recommendation, and I like it. I use it. So if you do this setup right here, and no, this one over here, and then these two here and here. All right, so this is a very stable setup. And if you'll notice what I said earlier, whatever you put in, you have to take out. So in weapons, we put 1 pip in, so we took 1 pip out. We put 1 pip or 2 pips in here, so down here we took 2 pips out, and we put 2 pips in, so I took 2 pips out. But also, so remember that basic rule. Whatever you put in, you have to take out somewhere. Otherwise, your system becomes unstable, and you'll start to incur energy feedback, and then eventually the system could blow. Now, when you're looking at this particular setup that Mike recommended, and I like it. Like I said, it's one of the first ones. I use it a lot. Pretty much when the minute I get access to the console, I set this up, and then I forget about it. I don't ever have to go back to the routing tables unless I just really want to. And what's cool about it is it gives a really good boost. At level 4, I can get to almost what is normally maximum for the phaser range. Now remember, this just affects phaser range. It helps power a little bit, but mostly just range. So, you can help out tactical a lot by just getting this number up. But remember, you only get so many of these baubles to put down here. So to get 20, I would have to have like this full up, which leaves me with minimal amounts to be able to use over here. So like I can't even get my shields up to a good one. But 19.5 and 20, there's not that big of a difference. So see, look at that difference though. 2.5 on the shields to 3.3. So, I mean, that made a huger difference. And look at my engines. With this setup, this is what I like. The engines are at 3750. I only need 3000 to do impulse jumps. So literally, these 2 pips almost get me to the 4000. But, you know what? This is fast enough with just 2 pips. I can leave this setting and literally, I don't think anybody would complain. The shields have pretty good strength if I wanted to, especially during battles, because we shouldn't be traveling very much, very fast during battles. In fact, reversing is probably more likely than speeding up. So I could even come over here, put another one here, and get that maximum shield, get this good almost maximum phaser range, but honestly, this phaser range isn't going to matter for very long because that ship's going to be well within the distance. And at closer ranges, that's where the power part comes in. So because it has 9.5 range, when the ship is less than that, like down, if it's when it gets to the 10-kilometer point, then that's where the power pack, because it is firing with the full force of a 20, but it's only having to travel 10, so less energy is bleeded out trying to get out. So boom, stronger phasers. But yeah, so this is a really cool setting. I like this one. Now, there is one other setting I have discovered playing around with this that works well also. And I'm going to go ahead and show you this, and the easiest way is just to do that. So basically, it starts out the same. We do this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, no, not that one. I'm going to move these two over. Now remember, I put two in, so I have to take two out. So I'm going to leave this right there. I'm going to move this one over here, and then I'm going to just go ahead and do that. And nope. There we go. That's the setup. Alright. This is just as stable, because see, I put two in, I took two out. I put one in. Okay. No, I put two in, 3, 4 in, and I moved 4 out. And then here I put two in, and I took two out. Now, the only thing I like about this one, maybe slightly better than Mike's, is that it didn't change my shield. My shield's pretty much stayed the same. I got the 3.3 and then the 5 here. This dropped from 2.5 to 2.2, but honestly, I'm going to keep pips at least at this level. Now, the major difference is here. You might remember on Mike's, I had two 4,000s. Now I have two 3,000s, and I lost my 3750. This isn't necessarily a bad deal because I can still do what I want to here. But look at my phasers. This was only a 15 kilometers. Now with just 3 things, I can get up to 18.6, which is just a step down from the 19.5. So, depending on what you want to maximize here or prioritize, this can be a good setting too, because I could actually put this here, and still leave that there, have my full shields, have my phasers. Now, like I said, I'm not getting that extra 750 boost, but I am basically giving it to tactical for the phasers. So now, how much of a difference does 1 kilometer make? To me, in my mind, not a lot, but you have to decide. But if I need, I can still hit my warp speed. I have to borrow some extra pips, but there you go. But I was going to have to do that anyway. But either way, so if you want to be able to get a higher deal for less, a higher phaser run for less, this is a good way to go. Honestly, remember what earlier I said that I don't, I set it to mic setting, and I may not come back unless I want to. I might come back once we've engaged the enemy at a distance and the 19.5 kilometers don't matter anymore. They've come so much closer in that we don't need this kind of range anymore. I will go back in and reroute my powers and adjust it for this setting, so they still get a pretty good hit at, maybe not as good as 19.5 kilometers, but 1 kilometer less in the power range, but more than sufficient for an up close. And I still get this, and I can give them the full 3,000s to just the 2,000. If I want to, though, I can always go and just give them that. So it really just depends on your playstyle and what the situation calls for. So those are the two routing things. Like I said, Mike's, I liked it. I played with it for a long time before I decided to see if there was something else I could do. And this is actually a lot harder to do with a keyboard, with a mouse and whatnot. But I like Mike's setup. It's really good. Provides all the power you need. The only difference is this 15 kilometer, 19 kilometers. I know it's really nitpicking, but you decide how you want to play. I do like the fact that this 3750 is here, especially in the beginning, because in the beginning you're making a series of impulse jumps anyway, and this more than meets that need. Of course, so did the alternative one. You just also get the extra distance here, but like I said, I will normally get rid of this and put it up here during combat, and you just get this whole beautiful setup. Now, the other thing I'll say, I didn't mention it yet, but this heading and speed thing, put this up here for engineering. This is really useful for Helm, but for engineering, it serves a benefit too, because you can see how much engine power he or she, the Helm officer, is actually using. You know, some Helms people, they like to do, I don't know, they may not use all the power that you're giving them. And if you notice that they're just, for whatever reason, maybe they're a little bit more timid on the flying, a
We have
little
a
more shaky.
pinpoint leak somewhere in the
If you
concrete
notice
deck
that they're just
before.
not
When you
using
get a
it,
chance, could you hunt that down?
then don't waste the extra power
I'll
here
take a look
if you
since you
don't
have a
need
minute.
it. You know? Or if you see that they're trying to go faster, but they're not able to, then it'll also kind of spark you to transfer and give them some more power. But really, that's about it. I do like having it up there because I do use it. Um, but that's really about it. Um, so, like I said, when you first log in, do Mike's setup. I recommend Mike's until you get used to routing. Then, if you want to do my alternate version, go for it. But or maybe even explore around and see if you can find some other settings. And if you find another setting that works, tell us about it. Put it in the comments. Let us know. I love experimenting and trying new stuff, and I love learning new things. So, you know, give me some feedback there. Um, but yeah, set this up first thing, and then like I said, set it and forget it. Mike is right. It's great. I've used it a lot. Goes. You'd think I knew Mike personally, but I don't. I've said that about 50,000 times. Take over the transporter controls. That's yours. Use it. Turn this on so that you have this information. And honestly, you can put. I was gonna say, Mac, if you wanted to, once you do your rerouting, if you wanted to go ahead and do this, you can, and just have all your pips in place. It doesn't affect detectable range at all. So until the shields actually come on, but even after like these shields are on, you'll notice that even if I put full power to the shields, it doesn't change the detectable. So go ahead. Like I said, the only thing that really affects the detectable
Please make
range
sure that the life
is
support
them
diagnostics
turning
are
on
clean.
the shield's torpedoes and then actually
Initializing level 3
activating the
diagnostic.
engines up above the 4,000 mark. And then your detectable ranges will start to go up. Um, but otherwise, that is really it. If there's something I missed, please put it in the comments and let me know about it. Um, Oh, there is one other thing actually from the I talk about it in the tactical, but I want to mention it because it's on you also. Um, look at this shields. It involves the shields. Okay, you have the shield strength information. When this hits 0, I have done several tests on this, and once you fix the shield emitters, well, actually, when this hits 0, tell engineering, and I told engineer or tell engineering, you are engineering, tell tactical, and I talked to tactical in the tactical video about this. But when the shield strength hits 0, basically the shields are down, they're not working, and I've run several tests to see what the fastest recharge rate is, and what I've discovered is that the shields, if the tactical will turn them off on his or her console, then, and you as the engineer, this becomes your job, count to 30. Do a 30-second count, like real time count. Don't be like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Yeah, don't do a crazy I want it now count. Do a 30-second real world count, and then tell tactical to turn back on the shields. Now, what I have found is that with the shields being powered off by tactical, it can take literally anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds for for the shield to be ready. Um, I do this on a regular basis. I'll tell them to turn it off. I'll do a 30-second count, tell them to turn it back on. And if the shields don't immediately start the activation process, they do it about 5 to 10 seconds after they've turned them on. Um, Other times, like if tactical leaves the shields on,
There's
and
a
I do
tiny
that
leak running through the
30-second
fixed
count,
conduits. Any
well,
idea
I've
where?
counted before this started
Taking a look now.
going up. I've counted as high as 50 seconds. So with the button still on, tactical keeping them on, it does seem to take longer for the shields to recharge than if tactical turns them off. And so so I recommend you tell it, when this hits zero, and I've told Tactical to just do it, but if you see that they haven't done it, because you'll still see this right here, tell them to turn it off and do the count, and then tell them to turn it back on. If you want, count to 35 or 40, and then tell them to turn it back on. If you want just to be certain that they're going to be ready, they will definitely be ready by 40 seconds. But like I said, most of the time they're ready by 30 seconds. In some of my tests, I found the shields ready in as little as 25 seconds and even 20 seconds a couple times. But I'm counting the 20 seconds more as an outlier. Maybe I just got off on my count a little bit. But um, even with a timer beside me, though, 30 seconds, I'd stop the timer at 30 seconds and then tell them to turn it on, and they would come on pretty quickly. But with the timer running and leaving the shields on, the timer that I was using would hit about 40 seconds at times before that came on. So it may spur some debate as to whether or not that actually works. But if you can get tactical to do it and you can keep track of the time, I totally recommend going that way just to get those shields back up faster. But anyway, that is totally all I have for engineering. I enjoy your trek through the cosmos. This is Prometheus Games, signing out.